All right, Chasers, this is our Chaser meeting for our next event, Saturday, June 28th. It is our Smallie Chaser River Bassin 5 River Smackdown in the summer heat. This weekend, coming up, Maury River, James River, Calf Pasture, Shenandoah, and North River. Of course, we've got specific boundaries to be observed for those river systems. Well, a few of them. And so we're really excited. I know the heat wave has kind of hit. It's been 100 to 105 with heat index in a lot of places throughout Virginia this week. But it is going to cool down for the weekend, so we're really looking forward to that. We're looking at temperatures between highs of like 82 to 85 and lows of between 67 and 69. Should be about 70 degrees at launch on Saturday morning. Smack dab in the middle. Obviously, if you're going to be fishing one or two of these rivers in the mountain and the valley, then temperatures could be a little cooler for sure. But that's roughly what we're looking at 6 a.m. We've got sunrise around 5:46 Saturday morning, and with lines in at 6 a.m. So I know some other series start a little later, but we're trying to mitigate some of that heat. That has been here all week. If you've been following anything, it's been happening. And we got the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour on the Potomac River this week. Their practice periods was out there. It was like 102 felt like 112. So pretty brutal. I know that gets kicked off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Potomac River. But fortunately for us, we are in our inland fisheries, chasing some smallies. We're not going to have that problem. A really quick update in terms of in the region. One of the other trails in the region has rescheduled they had to postpone an event similar to us due to high water that we've experienced over the last 6 weeks. They rescheduled their Shenandoah River event on Saturday as well. That event is on Fishing Chaos. That series is NVKBA, Northern Virginia Kayak Bass Anglers. You can reach out to them, or you can check them out on Fishing Chaos. They are fishing the Shenandoah watershed. We are only fishing in the 5 River Smackdown event, the North Fork of the Shenandoah in this particular event. We wanted to open up some water that maybe a lot of guys haven't had the opportunity to fish yet. When we usually fish a Shenandoah River event like we did a few weeks back, predominantly most guys, gravitate towards the South Fork, right? Or maybe the main stem. But we wanted to be able to give an opportunity for people to highlight, some other areas of the Shenandoah and open that up. So we've opened up the North Fork in the 5 River summer event, Smackdown this year. And in addition to the North Fork, okay, we've added another 2 other river systems that we have not ever scheduled in our AOI stage series events, okay? But people have fished in monthlies, okay? And when we know chasing smallies, we've got some fish caught in these river systems. So we wanted to add that in the mix to give people an opportunity to kind of decide, you want to go up in the mountains, you want to go fishing a little where the water might be, not as warm, or do you want to fish, in the James or, or the Maury or something like that. So we give you that option, okay? In this why it's a 5 river event, because you've got that option to pick between 5 rivers in your planning. So let's take a look at those 5 rivers to kick it off. Obviously, we're going to start with the Maury River. Right now, the Maury River is about 2.5 feet right now. And it's looking really, really good. It's probably the best it's looked probably in the last few weeks. Then we've got the James River. The James River currently is about 3.1 to 3.3 feet, depending on which gauge you want to do. We don't really have a gauge right in with our boundary section, which I'm going to talk about in a second. We've got the Calf Pasture, okay? So that's up towards the Allegheny Mountains. It kind of comes in all the way down to the Little Calf Pasture, which then pretty much forms the Maury River. So if you follow that Maury River watershed all the way up, that's where you're going to find it. It's that's 41 miles long, because the calf pasture is 41 miles long. All right, and in the Goshen gauge, it's about 2.2 to 2.3 feet. Okay, and then we've got the North River. The North River is a 55-mile, valley, mountainous and valley, Shenandoah Valley River system, and the Stokesville gauge is about 2 feet. So we're pretty much roughly between 2 and 4 feet, okay? Because on the North Fork at Strasburg, the river is about 4 feet right now, and then at Mount Jackson, it's about 3.6. Okay, so that gives you the idea. We're between 2.5 and 4 feet in terms of river, which is a stark contrast to the 12 to 16 feet we saw in some of these river systems just 2 weeks ago. Okay, so let's get into the Smallie Chaser River Bassin 5 River Smackdown event. You can go on Tourney X. Obviously, if you're not a member of our community Discord, you should do that, because that's where a lot more of the information gets provided. The awards, all that information, river systems, NOAA data, any updates, that need to be added. Obviously, we are a Smallie Chaser community, so we are a smallmouth only, river only series. That is what we target in our series. In this particular event, however, we do offer our alternative species side pot, which is a rock bass. If you fish the Maury River, for example, it's loaded with rock bass, and so are some of the other river systems in this. So that gives you an opportunity to fish from some alternative species. All right, boundaries, last launch boundaries. Last launch boundaries. Okay, let me repeat this. Last launch boundaries. Okay, the boundary is not a hard physical boundary. Okay, it is a last launch boundary. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if you launch at a ramp or a bridge, that is a last launch boundary, you can certainly still go below it or above it, okay? But that's your last eligible launch, okay? I think there's been some kind of, but that's how it is. So if you launch at the last launch boundary, and you score a fish that's below it, okay? If it's still a scoreable fish, okay? So just keep that in mind when we talk about boundaries. They are not hard boundaries, hard stop, okay? The boundaries represent predominantly the last place within a river system you are permitted to launch from. Not fish from, but launch from. So you can't dump in, or you can't launch at any ramp or any dumping point or any property or any of that, below it, okay? Or above it, depending on what the boundary is. North-south boundary, east-west boundary, okay? So the Maury River, for the Maury River, the entire Maury River is in bounds. Okay? Means you can launch anywhere along the Maury River. Okay? The Calf Pasture River is entirely in bounds. Okay? The North River is entirely in bounds. All right? So there's no restrictions in terms of boundaries. Okay? You can run the full 55 mile of the North River, the full 41 mile of the Calf Pasture in that watershed, and you can fish it, okay? The Shenandoah River is the North Fork only, and its boundaries, again, last launch boundary is Front Royal, Riverton at Front Royal, okay? And then down in Edinburgh, okay? On the North Fork. Again, let me reiterate this. If you want to fish the main stem, okay, in this event, you certainly can fish the main stem as far as you can get, but you have to launch from Riverton and Front Royal. So if you want to go to Morgan's Ford, if you want to go, downriver from Riverton, you can launch there and you can fish as far as you can get, okay? But that's the last launch boundary, okay? For the James River, your last launch boundaries upriver is the Natural Bridge Station, okay? It's basically Arnold's Valley Road, all right? Natural Bridge Station, that's your last physical launch boundary. And then your downriver, heading towards Lynchburg, your last launch boundary is the Lee Jackson Highway, okay? It's a hot bridge that goes over the James River, all right? And you can locate that, and so you can know, okay? So those are your last launch boundaries. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to me before the event, but I think that's pretty much self-explanatory, okay? And we're going to get into launch access in a bit, okay? Because I know there's been some questions, there's been some concerns, and there's been some stuff going on in the region that we need to address, okay? In terms of understanding rules, not reading rules, not really understanding, what the parameters are basically set, which rules are being implemented, which rules are being followed. I'm going to cover that here in a second. All right. Start time. Launch boats. You were allowed to enter the water at 5:30 on Saturday, okay? You're allowed to enter the water at 5:30. Keep in mind, sunrise is around 5:46, which means if you enter the water at 5:30, you need to have all of the safety, light, all of that stuff, okay? Full set, all right? And let me reiterate this. I'm going to make this plea, okay, to everyone. If you see someone not following rules, like, okay, safety rules especially, please make it a point to begin a conversation, okay? If someone's not wearing their PFD, they launched, they pulled off without their PFD on, and I've seen it, all the excitement or whatever, and they're hurrying, and they're running late, and they're dropping everything in, and they got their PFD, it's in the kayak, but they get out on the water, and they push off the bank, and they don't have their PFD on. I don't want a video, okay? I don't want a video. I don't want a picture of somebody taking a picture of someone 4 feet from a boat ramp but didn't have their PFD on, okay? Just tell them, hey, bro, you know what I mean? Make sure you put your PFD on. Now, if they don't put their PFD on and they go and fish, they go and cast without their PFD on, then we got a problem, okay? But I'm just saying, have common sense, understand, look out for people. Sometimes people just, they don't, and just keep that in mind, okay, when it comes to stuff like that, all right? So boats in the water at 5:30. If you don't have a safety light, just get in after sunrise, okay, please. Again, lines in is at 6 a.m. End time for the tournament on Saturday is 4 p.m., guys. 4 p.m., all right? Your photo submission deadline, guys, is 6 p.m. That gives you 2 hours, 2 full hours to get to a place in which you can upload your photos. If you cannot get your photos uploaded in 2 hours, that's on you, okay? Your late photo submissions will be DQ'd, okay? The forgiveness period now is over, okay? Like, you've got to get your photos in by 6 o'clock. If there's any issues, whatever, okay, but the reality of it is it's on you and your responsibility to get your photos in by the stated time, and you're being given far more leeway than any other series I'm familiar with, okay, in terms of that, which means you have the ability to fish right up until 4 p.m. In a lot of other series, guys have to stop fishing an hour before lines out because they've got to get to someplace. Places like the Susquehanna, Staunton River, Roanoke River, okay, places like that, limited service, New River. They got to stop fishing an hour, or maybe sometimes an hour and a half before Salt and the Hobie event, okay, when Hobie came to the New River. People had to stop fishing like an hour and a half before lines out to get to a place with service. We want to mitigate that. I want you to be able to catch as many fish and have all day, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. to fish, and then have 2 hours to get to a Wi-Fi or get to a spot, and load up your submissions without being rushed, checking your fish from their live well and putting them in, all right? I want you to get credit for the fish that you catch. I don't want to be DQing fish. I don't want to do that. I don't. I mean, you caught the fish, okay? I want you to get credit for catching the fish, right? It is a fishing and catching series, okay? Yes, we are chasing fish, but we ultimately want to catch and submit them. All right? Obviously, we are CPR, catch, photo, release, and video, okay? Please take your videos, okay? Please do videos, okay? Contingency. Don't let us guys that have jerseys take all the fun and all the pie, because if you submit a video, the best video, and this video that you submit of a catch video release and you're in the series, if you're a member in the series and you're wearing your Smallie Chaser River Bassin jersey, you're in the running for that prize pack, okay? And if you don't have the jersey for that contingency video, you're not in the running. Doesn't matter what size fish you caught, right? Doesn't matter what size fish that you release. You could win the prize. You could win a prize pack valued at $30 for releasing a 6-inch smallmouth bass just for having the jersey, all right, and doing that, okay? It's one of the promotional things that we like to do for you guys on social media, so you can get it out there and do, let people know about the chaser community. So, obviously, fishing licenses for this event are all Virginia, okay? So you want to make sure you got a Virginia because we're only in Virginia waters, unless you can somehow make it all the way up to West Virginia on the Shenandoah main. Okay, you'll probably be running that battery into the ground, but if that's the case, you got to have a West Virginia license, okay? Or if you're fishing any other rivers that go into, obviously, West Virginia in that regard, you got to make sure that you have the proper licensing. $55 entry fee, $70 for non-members. $10 big Smallie pot, $10 big bass pot. Okay, let's talk about registration, because we had this issue come up in the last event. Okay, and we've mitigated it. I'll take care of that dispute. Okay, if you are not a member of Smallie Chaser River Bassin Series, you are absolutely welcome to fish the event. However, if you fish the event, you have to pay the non-member entry fee. Okay, and how that works on Tourney X is you enter the event, and then at the bottom, additional fees, you do the non-member fee, which is $15. So your total of fishing the event would be $70, okay? And if you don't enter that, okay, and you're not a member, and you finish in the first, second, or third place, we're left with having to make the decision, okay, was this an error or like, just confusion, or did somebody was it intentional? Okay, we've got to mitigate that like we had to in the last event, in terms of payout and in terms of big fish. Okay, so you've got to pay your so for example, if you're fishing in our event and you're a non-member and you don't pay the non-member $15 upcharge and you win big fish, you don't win big fish, okay? Because you didn't enter the event the right way because you're not a member, and it looks, and to people who may not know you, people who may not know your character, may not know your integrity, may not know anything about you, are just seeing, wait, he's not a member, and he finished in this place or that place. So like, just keep that in mind. So if you're inviting a friend to fish, if you're having new people, just make sure you make that aware. There was some confusion, so I've addressed that verbiage for me on my part, because there are some events where we waive the non-member fee if we're doing conjoined events, like we have some coming up. Okay, we may decide to waive the non-member fee in September during Chaser Fest on Saturday because there's a Bass Nation event on Saturday, and there may be people who in that Bass Nation event who aren't part of our community who may want to fish our event as well, so they would pay the non-member fee. Okay, so I just want to keep repeating that to make sure that we don't run into this problem like we did. Not a problem, but just a hiccup. All right, then $10 Smallie big pot, $10 rock bass. You enter that in on Tourney X, the additional fees. Okay, all catch submissions are submitted by KBF rule standards. KBF deductions applied unless otherwise notified in the Chaser meeting. This is the Chaser meeting, and I would like to inform you that yes, we do follow 90% of the KBF rules standards. So you want to make sure that you follow the rules standard. Okay? However, we have caveats and amendments to the KBF rules. I'm not up to date on any changes made by KBF. I know it's hard and difficult. Okay? We're going to try and rectify that for our community and our own rules for 2026. So we're not having to figure out, well, KBF changed. Well, Jay, KBF changed their rules, so now they're this. So if it's the they've updated their rule standard, and we don't get a download because there's no more KBF affiliate clubs. There's no ambassador clubs anymore. So we don't really get the download if there's any changes to rules. But yet we're trying to follow the KBF rule standard. So a lot of that's on us, on me. But at the end of the day, we don't want there to be confusion. So in 2026, we will be following our own rules in which members in our community want. You will be part of that process, okay, of identifying, we don't like that, we like that, that's crap, that's shit, get rid of that. There's a lot of fluff and a lot of stuff in these rules that we all know we don't need, okay? All right? And that's what we're going to do. So 3 amendments are on the event registration page on Tourney X, okay? Number 1, all right? Outside of the standard KBF rules standard, okay? In addition to your catchboard, Yak Attack leaderboard. Those are the only 2 approved companies, approved measuring devices, okay? Any number of your Catch X, Carbonite, Catchboard, they're all good, okay? The additions or amendments to the KBF rule standard, okay? I'm going to state this as clear as I can because of things that have happened in the community in the last few months. Okay, not our community, but the broader fishing community in the region. In addition to all of the safety and all of the normal KBF rules, we have 3 main differences. 1, you are allowed to wade fish. You not only are you allowed to wade fish tethered to your kayak, but you are also allowed to beach your kayak and fish untethered as long as you are within 20 yards of your kayak. Okay, so if you want to beach your kayak in the middle of the James River on a rock and get up and fish on that rock, you are allowed to fish on that rock. If you do so, please do not remove, while you're wade fishing, your PFD. If you remove your PFD while you are wade fishing, you will be disqualified. Okay, so again, you're perfectly allowed to wade fish. Okay, but you have to maintain the safety protocols that are in place to protect you. Okay, so you are portaging. Okay, another big one. All right, you are permitted to portage within boundaries. Okay, now what does that mean? That means, let me reiterate this, if you launch at a hard boundary, okay, a hard boundary, you are permitted to go downriver, okay, or upriver, right? You're not allowed to launch like covered before. That's your last launch access. However, if you go above the hard boundary or below the hard boundary, depending on where the boundary is on the map, okay, you cannot portage. Your first obstacle, if it's a dam, whatever it is, that something it's impassable, you are not permitted to pass it, okay? Make that clear. If you launch within the boundaries, anywhere within the boundaries, 55-mile boundary, okay, anywhere within both the top last launch boundary and the bottom last launch boundary, then obviously you can portage any dam or any obstacle or anything that's within that boundary, okay? I hope I've made that abundantly clear. Okay, so if you launch at a last launch boundary and go in the opposite direction of the inbounds area, which you're allowed to do, you cannot portage further. You can't keep portaging and portaging and portaging for 30 miles, okay? No, it's your last. And it's set up that way on the map to avoid that. There's not really that many of those instances, okay? On the James River, there is. Because you have your hard boundary at Lee Highway, and then there's a dam about a mile or so below that. You can fish between that last launch boundary and the dam, but you can't go beyond the dam. Okay? That's probably the one I can think of that stands out in this particular event. All right, but you are allowed to portage as long as you're portaging on state or authorized property. You are not allowed to portage in posted areas, no trespassing, posted areas, state property. You know, the Arsenal at Radford, prime example, on the New River. You're not allowed to go on property that you're not allowed to go on property on, okay? State, military, whatever, installation, federal government, no trespassing, You're not allowed to do that, okay? As far as other properties go, in terms of both launching, accessing, portaging, if you have stated permissions to do so, it's a state easement, state bridge, okay? Any of those things that's not posted, no trespassing, not posted, private property, no access, not posted, okay, hazard, whatever, you are permitted to use that access point, okay, in our series. I know that's different from everybody else, but not everybody else fishes our river systems and knows what we face on our rivers, okay? So just keep that in mind. And remember, if you are using certain things, now, caveat, make sure that you are reading the NVKBA rules because they're not the same. In the NVKBA rules, I'm pretty darn sure that you would not be able to do that, okay? So I don't know if you're allowed to drop in. I think you have to use hard public launches, designated launches for access. So you want to make sure if you're trying to double dip on the North Fork, for example, you're using a concrete ramp, public boat access. You're not dumping in a bridge or dumping in on an easement or on the bank and a lot of kayak launch that's not pinned on their eligible water. Okay, you want to use the check-in and check-out feature is required. Okay, not all series require the check-in, check-out. The check-in and check-out is not only for the tournament's benefit, but it's also for your benefit. Okay, because if someone files a complaint against you saying that you launched from an unauthorized access point, okay, you won, you got finished, you got a check, and someone disputes that you, or claims and makes an allegation. That's what a dispute is, folks. It's an allegation. Someone is alleging that you violated a rule based on access, okay? Your check-in ends it, validates it, okay? If you do not check in, and I know where you checked in is legal and in bounds, and someone files a dispute against you, there will be a full investigation into that launch, okay? But if you use the check-in feature and someone wants to file a complaint, it'll take me 5 minutes and I can literally tell them, I don't think it's in the best interest of you to file this complaint because I have the check-in data and the individual launched from this location, which is an authorized location. Because if you launch a complaint and your complaint is not validated, okay, then it falls back on you in terms of deductions, okay, and penalties, okay? So if you do want to file a complaint, certainly file a complaint, or a dispute. But if you do so, you've got to be prepared that if it doesn't stand up to the review, that you're going to be penalized, okay? Because we're not having this stuff that's going on in all these other things where people are just indiscriminately launching investigations against people. Like, no, if you believe there's been an infraction, then by all means you're willing to stand by it. Okay, so it's just as much on you as anyone else. Like, boom, this is what it is. This is what I believe. This is what I saw. This is it. Here's the evidence. Okay, and that's what you got to present in any dispute that happens in any series that I'm aware of. Okay. What else we got? Hold harmless. You guys know, using the registration page, obviously in our community as a member. If you're a member, if you're a non-member, your event registration and payment of your event registration is your liability. Hold harmless. Read your hold harmless agreement that you're agreeing to follow that as by actually entering the event. Payouts, we use a 55, 30, 15 payout. We pay out three spots for 12 or more anglers. If we have events that have less than 12 anglers, we're going to pay out 2 spots. Okay? You can check out all the prize packs, longest Big Smallie prize pack, Big Smallie payout, Future 20, that's our Dink Smallie. Contingency awards. I talked about the video release contingency with the jersey for this event. Please harvest and remove all Alabama bass that you may come in contact with. Please take a picture of that Alabama bass. Document your location. Please submit your Alabama bass if you can on your Tourney X. I'll take care of it on my end. I'll delete it for you, but I just want to be able to capture the location so I can provide that to the state, okay? And we want to have those Alabama bass removed from our river systems. They are highly invasive, and they will destroy our smallmouth populations, okay? That is all I have regarding the 5-river Smackdown, other than simple safety concerns, okay? Heat advisory is in effect right now. It may be waived by Saturday, but there is a heat advisory right now. You want to make sure that you are hydrated. You want to make sure that you, not only are you hydrated and you take extra water, but I implore you to also pack your rain gear, okay? Your rain jacket or whatever, because you will face scattered, it's the summertime in Virginia. You're going to face scattered thunderstorms on the Maury River, the James River. Happens all the time. I mean, and you don't want to be out on the water in one of those severe thunderstorms. Then maybe it only I was just in one. Okay, sitting, waiting to pick up my daughter. Okay, and out of nowhere, it's freaking 96 degrees. The temperature drops to 92 degrees, and boom, the freaking sky opens up, and it literally dumped for like 30 minutes straight, like heavy freaking thunderstorm. And after that, it was beautiful again. You don't want to get caught in that on the river, okay, without some protection. Make sure that you've got your bug spray. Bugs are out, guys. I personally, I don't know if anybody's seen, I haven't seen any cicadas, but man, I've seen the bugs, man. The bugs are freaking brutal in this heat, okay? So make sure you got your bug spray. Make sure you got your sunscreen, all right? All that. Watered up. Make sure Friday night you're hydrated. You drank plenty of water on Friday. You ate, you did everything properly, so in the morning when you arrive, your body is in good condition to get out you're launching at 70 degrees on Saturday morning, gentlemen, okay? And though it's only going to get to 85, and it may feel cooler because we've been at 100 degrees for 3 days, it's still going to be in the 80s, okay? And so I want to make sure that everybody uses that check-in and check-out feature so I know you're safe. Any issues, you've got my number. You also can contact, so you can contact me directly or via Attorney X in that regard. And again, if anybody has any questions, invite as many people as you can to the event. It's going to be a great event. I mean, the fish are biting, guys. We just had 3 citation smallmouth caught in the last 5 days, okay, in our series on Attorney X, in our monthlies and in our American Chase division, okay? I mean, they're chewing. They're already wet. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they're gonna find cool areas. They're gonna be moving into areas, some deeper water. So just don't let the heat, kind of like deter you from getting out there because you think the bite's gonna be tougher, maybe because of this weather. It has not been this week. It has not been, and so just keep that in mind. Again, registration closes down on Friday night. So if you want to get any of your buddies, you want to get anybody else to come, just remind them about the non-member fee on Attorney X. Make sure they get that locked in, and then everything will be good to go. You can hit me up in Discord. You can reach out to me via text or give me a call if you have any questions about anything. Obviously, read through the rules, understand, both the KBS standard, both our additions and amendments, to make sure that we don't have any issues. Okay, make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody go out and have a great event. All right, guys, I'll see you. Hopefully, get some big limits on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to seeing in this 5-river event where everybody decides to fish. That's always the most fun in these multi-river events, is to kind of see what rivers guys decide to fish at. The same with like the Shenandoah and the different stems and where everyone's going to go. It's going to be really, really interesting to see that. But everybody be safe. Again, if you're new to the series, welcome. If you're a veteran of the series, help those guys that are new to the series. Take care of everybody. Make sure everybody gets on and off the water safely on Saturday morning. All right, thanks, guys.